My story of survival. Very long read, sorry. I decided now that I'd begun blogging here, it was time to relate my tale to anybody who would listen. I hope it is of assistance to those of you who are now experiencing the horror that is D-Day plus 1 through D-Day plus 3 years. We had been married for 6 years and had been dating for a little more than 8 years when we were married in 2014. After supporting her through college to become a teacher, she had a terrible first year, as many teachers do. I recall her stating that she never wanted to teach again. I attempted to persuade her not to quit up after 6 years of school. She changed majors twice, because of one terrible year. It degenerated into a massive brawl, and after years of defending her, I finally lost my calm. Fine, give up on it, but you have to work since we can't make ends meet on one income. After a few months, she got a job that paid far less than she did as a teacher. I assumed that this was all behind us and that we were doing good. Then my father died. My father and I had an odd connection. My parents split when I was 12 years old, and he was seldom around, and when he was in the bar. When my father was diagnosed with heart failure, he started to attempt to reconnect with his family in his own peculiar manner. But unfortunately, he had a timer set on his life at that moment. My father was taken off life support and given a time limit. He held out for 10 days. It was a living nightmare, and I was a total disaster. When he died, we discovered the hard way how awful he was with his money. He left his children with a mountain of debt to contend with. You can probably guess that I wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. I was grappling with the sandwich my father had left for me, and although I was upset at him, I was also mourning for my father. If you ever lost a loved one, you know how difficult it can be. You're okay 1 minute, then you're a bag of tears the next. Jump forward a few years to the winter of 2017. A mutual friend and the chair of our local NerdCon announces on Facebook that he is divorcing his wife because she cheated on him. My ex happened to be in the area and dropped over to chat to him, her version. I'm confident this is when the cheating began. I thought it was odd she remained there for 5 hours, but I am a trusting person and trusted her account of them simply talking. As the months pass towards spring, and she talks to him more and more, I get irritated and indicate that her chatting to him is making me uncomfortable. This is dismissed as my being paranoid. I had a reason to be. She had gone behind my back to have a conversation with an ex before we married. She said that she needed closure. Ma'am, I'll be in Vancouver, British Columbia, on business the final weekend of April 2018. She informs me that she is home alone. She disliked being alone and would often have her mother come over and stay if I was out on weekends. Red flag. She's going on a completely platonic date with this man. I'm not thrilled about it because I know he's fragile and it's simply not a good idea. She still goes. We had geolocated our phones at the time in an attempt to reduce texting while driving, so if one of us was worried, they could check the GPS tracker and see that we were on our way home. Red flag, her idea. Out of paranoia, I check to see if she's home, and she says yes. I check the tracker, and she's still with him. I tell her that I know she's still out and that she should go home since it's late. She becomes enraged and refuses to speak to me for the rest of the night. I attempt to work through the following day, but she says she's heading over to his place again. I'm enraged at this point and beg her not to go over there, since this man is weak and I'm afraid he'll make a move on her. She dismisses me and turns off her GPS tracker. When Sunday comes around and I'm on my way home, she's suddenly all sweet. In my thoughts, warning bells are ringing non-stop. Something isn't right. I got home late, had to scrounge a ride. She was supposed to pick me up, and find her sleeping on the sofa. After a week of strangeness, I'm being duped into thinking I was being extremely possessive and paranoid. That weekend, I learned that she only kissed him after a lengthy, meaningful chat, and that she believes our marriage isn't worth preserving. I spent 2 days doing everything I could think of to improve problems. Pick me dance. She made up her mind. She chooses to go for a walk with the dog, and in a fit of worry, I log into her iPad and access her email. That's when I discovered her deep love for this person and her desire to leave me. I'm terribly devastated, the room begins to spin, and I completely lose it. I'm having trouble breathing. I phone her and inform her that I am aware. She runs home, and I ask her directly, "Do you want to be with him?" I believe I do. At this time, I erupt into a fury and tell her I can't be around her right now and must go. I'm going to book a hotel room for the night. At this time, she departs and goes to his house to stay the night. Knowing she had left the dog, I checked out and went home to care for our pooch. Despite the fact that it was over, I laid up all of our wedding photographs, as well as all of our images from the previous 11 years. Everything is on the kitchen table. I make her sit and look at the images when she gets home. Don't give up on this, and especially don't give up on us. Please do not squander 11 years on someone you hardly know. It took me years to recover from what she replied in return. You're screwed. OM got his sh*t together. I need some time to think about it. She then walks away. I'm devastated as I sit there. Knowing that it's all over, I see she left her tablet logged in on the counter. I gave in to temptation and opened her messaging app. I'm waiting for you in bed, she said to him. At that time, I realized it was all over. In a fit of wrath, I destroyed the wedding picture on the wall. I contacted her and told her to come grab her crap. It will be ready for her when she arrives. My brother, bless him, I owe him my life, assists me in stacking all of her on the front porch for pickup. Now, I see I could have handled things better. In hindsight, it's 2020, but the lady I cherished, sacrificed for, and did all I could to make her happy had just moved in with another guy. She quickly moves in with him, switches her mobile phone plan from mine to his, the same day, and this jerk goes to the conference where I was on staff and professes his love, and that everyone who does not support them would be ejected out. Naturally, I am barred from attending the conference, so not only did I lose my wife, but I also lost my tribe, who I believed was on my side. 4 weeks later, the convention is finished, she has totally moved in with him, and she plasters images all over Facebook of herself hanging all over him. Meanwhile, while she is on vacation and flaunting her new connection, I am enlisting the help of relatives and what few friends I have left to get our belongings out of our home and out before our lease expires. Every time I asked for assistance, she had an excuse. To make things worse, she got a new job the week she cheated at the same company I worked as an IT help desk lead. During that summer, I lost a lot of weight, started smoking a pack a day, and seldom ate. While I was alone on my birthday, she was out showing off her new partner to her family, who ignored me like a bad habit and embraced him with open arms. I, tragically, fell into the pick-me trap and attempted multiple times that summer to persuade her to leave that relationship and strike out on her own. She then recounted to me how after your father died, I lost interest in you. I knew you were in mourning, but I had needs as well. You no longer pay attention to me. She attempted to come on to me one of the final times I talked to her, and I stopped her. I became enraged and told her that this was not the notebook, and that she needed to grow up. As a last FU, she chooses to take the OM on a vacation we had planned together to Ireland and England, where my family originated in the 1900s. I had banned her and anybody linked with her on social media at this time, so I didn't see the trip splashed all over the place. Soon after, I completed the divorce papers on my own and it was finalized. I haven't talked to her in person in a long time. 1 or 2 emails will enough to settle certain accounts. Aside from that, she utilizes her parents as a surrogate for whatever she requires. I avoid any touch with her and anyone connected to her. Unfortunately, this meant that many of her friends supported her or thought that being in the convention was more essential than maintaining a connection with me. Throughout this process, I discovered a wonderful therapist. He helped me understand that none of this was normal, and that I was doing my best to respond in a very screwed-up scenario, his words. Through counseling and describing what had occurred, I realized there was nothing I could have done to avoid it. And all of her arguments were illogical and did not justify her adultery. Overall, I learned a lot. I have solid coping skills, and I did the best I could given the circumstances. I started focusing on being a better person and letting go of all of this nasty, awful garbage. Making time for self-reflection and self-care, for example. I recall his final words to me before I stopped seeing him. I have nothing more to teach you, so go out and conquer life, my man. You can do it. The first move I took for myself was to leave the job environment. It was torturous to see her all the time and to work in the same office as her and many of her pals. It was difficult, since I had devoted so much of my time and energy to that work. Back in my hometown, I obtained a fantastic job. I work for a school system, and I like being around children. It gives me a feeling of purpose, which I believe I needed. I have good and terrible days. Sometimes I hear things about her and her life that bother me. However, it no longer astounds me as it once did. I found out she married the guy last summer, 3 months after he divorced his wife. Yeah, Took him 3 years to divorce his ex, but was living with another woman. According to what I've gathered, she's quite thin, always seems fatigued, and refuses to leave the house without his permission. One of the most difficult things for me is that I had no place to keep our dog throughout the divorce, so she took her. I'm missing that dog. She attempted to gaslight me a few times by using the dog as an excuse to visit me. It was a difficult choice, but I had to put a stop to it as well. Thankfully, there was a silver lining to 2018's horrible year. I acquired a puppy, and she is now 2 years old and the finest dog I have ever had. As I write this, I'm sleeping on my foot. The second reason is that we never had children. I realize now that it was a kindness. She never wanted to have children because she thought it would ruin her body. My greatest ambition, though, was to become a parent. I am still single, and will most likely remain so for the foreseeable future, thanks COVID-U. I'm approaching 40 and doubt it will ever be a reality for me. But the future isn't carved in stone, so I may hope. I've had the opportunity to reconnect with my family after leaving the ruins of the life we made together. My feelings for them have never been greater. My mother said that she got her son back. I started saving for the first time in my life since I'm no longer working for someone else to spend my money. I have highly gratifying interests for which I would have had to file a federal lawsuit before. After many years of feeling like I was the reason our marriage failed, I eventually learned to love myself again. I am aware of my truth. I was a nice spouse, flaws and all, but I was supportive, caring, and not the monster she painted me as. This April marks the celebration of day plus 3 years. I can't believe how far I've progressed since then. I continue to have awful days. It still aches at times, but that's normal with grieving. Grief never goes away. You don't get over it. You just learn to live with it. If you've made it this far, thank you for taking the time to read my story.